Hey there and welcome back to Get Indie Gaming. This coming week is pretty stacked with new game releases, and today we're counting down the 10 best indie games coming out this week on PC and all of the usual other platforms. See anything you like? Be sure to let us know down in the comments. Up first and at number 10 we have Celestian Tales Realms Beyond. While this is a continuation of the Celestian Tales series, the developers have said that while the game takes place 9 years after the previous games, this offering is a standalone title that allows new players to jump straight in, although those who have played before will recognise and be familiar with the world and cast of characters. And what a world we have here! The environmental art is all inspired by watercolour-based painting techniques. It's all hand-drawn with the animations and backgrounds, looking so very textured and fluid. As for the game itself, well, it's a story where you can follow the journey of 6 companions, knights who've sworn to protect the heir of a noble house, all within a turn-based RPG that offers multiple difficulty levels to better suit how you might want to play it. Celestian Tales Realms Beyond will be out on Steam this coming May 7th. Up next and at number 9, out in early access on May 7th, Arboria is a pretty looking third-person action RPG with roguelike elements. Sees you play as a Jotun warrior, all within a procedurally generated dungeon setting, where you're on a quest to help heal what's called the Father Tree, and in so doing, help bring health and prosperity back to your home tribe. It's how the combat looks as well as the overall aesthetics that have grabbed our attention, particularly the real-time dynamics of how players will seemingly need to mix up their tactics and strategies depending on the type of enemy they face, rather than adopting a one-size-fits-all approach. By all accounts, most of the core underlying mechanics of Arboria are done and dusted, with the time spent in early access to be used as always to add more content, such as voice acting, additional dungeons and lore, but also to tweak the game according to player feedback. Arboria will be available for PCs by way of Steam. At number 8, and something of a rarity for us here at Get Indie Gaming, Raven's Path is out on May 5th, with it coming both to Android and Apple operating systems. We tend to only feature games on these platforms a handful of times each year, and when we saw this one drop into our email box a few days ago, well, it ticked all the boxes that we wanted to see. This comes from Evil Villain Games, based out of Boston in the US, and the team behind it have explained the seeds of Raven's Path comes from their love of tactical RPGs, with them a few years ago wondering what such games might be like if played out much faster, with it seeking to utilise the excitement, versatility and quick-fire split decision-making of an out-and-out action game. So what we have here is a grid-based tactical action RPG, in which enemies fall from the top of the screen like Tetris-style blocks, with players needing to arrange and move their army to prevent the enemy reaching the bottom of the screen. Aside from this novel approach, we adore the hand-drawn pixel art at play, and with it coming in at over 25 hours of gameplay, this could be one of the better and bigger surprises out on Android or iOS over the first half of the year.
I never wanted you to come here.
Up next and at number 7, coming out on PC via Steam on May 5th, and onto the PlayStation 4 and Xbox at some point in the future, Someday You'll Return will be offering up a psychological horror game in which the developers CBE Software have said it draws inspirations from such games as Silent Hill, Outlast 2, The Vanishing of Ethan Carter and others such as Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. In any case, some background, you'll play as a father of a girl who's gone missing. Now she's run away like this a few times before, although this time, well, you've just got that feeling that something isn't quite right. What's more though, this time she's run away in what's perhaps a calculated bait, as it were, as she's made her way into a forest that's a place you promised yourself many years ago you'd never go back to. Now sometimes we can take or leave these kind of psychological horror games, although this one really has piqued our interest to see more of it. Much of this comes from how it seems to have an element of the Bioshock series about it, particularly in the characterizations that seem to have an all-round spooky and shimmer feel about them. What's more, with a crafting, herbalism and even a karmic system where your actions have consequences and can influence the ending, Someday You'll Return looks all set to deliver quite the haunting all-round experience. Next up at number 6, Wintermoor Tactics Club launches May 5th on a PC via Steam, with it also coming to the PlayStation 4, Switch and Xbox One later in 2020. Inspired by visual novels, here we have a tactics-based RPG that takes place within a high school during the 1980s. Players are cast into the role of Alicia, within a story that's about inclusion and the way in which people often narrowly define themselves and others in accordance with the groups they belong. With dozens of unlockable upgrades, 7 different playable characters, and more than 40 different tactical battles to undertake, Wintermoor Tactics Club seems an interesting premise. Up at number 5, and something very much out of the arcades from a good few years ago, Wavey the Rocket is a precision-driven side-scroller that draws its inspiration from modern platformers and comes with super responsive controls, fast respawns all within 80 plus levels across 10 differing themes. You progress by adjusting the wave along which Wavey travels along 2 axes, with you also using a dash to move your position on the wave in order to avoid the many obstacles along the way. One other great thing in Wavey is the soundtrack, which is a bespoke and original hip-hop offering that puts us very much in mind of all things G-Funk. Wavey the Rocket comes out on May 8th via Steam, and perhaps it'll come to consoles at some point down the road. At number 4, Before We Leave is one of the finest looking city building games we've seen in ages, where you the player are tasked with rebuilding humanity, having only recently emerged from spending many generations underground. Okay, so while we haven't gotten round to playing this yet, one of the things we're most wanting to know more of comes from the game's description of it being a place lacking violence. Now this is all at odds with another section of the press release, which says the overall environment you're shaping is quite generally unsafe. You'll need to contend with not only things such as space whales, which are able to eat your planets as a morning snack, but also the giant ancestral guardians, who forced your people underground all those years ago. Apparently they can come back to menace you and your people from time to time. So while there's no violence, there certainly seems to be plenty of death. In any case, as city builders go, this looks and feels like one of the most interesting ones to come out for a long time, with it dropping onto PCs on May 8th via the Epic Games Store. At number 3, and coming out of early access on May the 8th, Fury Unleashed is a combo-driven roguelike, with it featuring what's best described as a soft permadeath, all within a procedurally generated and ever-changing living comic book. Now all of this does honestly look superb, with it having 5 different looking environments, all of which are based on a so-called creator's sketchbook. Everything here is designed to offer up nods to classics such as Metal Slug and Contra, while also using the tricks, tips and inspiration from modern siblings in the genre such as Dead Cells. What also works so well is the implementation of a combo-based system which sees you jump, prance and almost dance your way across the levels, and we understand it is possible to beat this game with just one long consecutive combo, although goodness knows we won't be seeing any such heroics round our way anytime soon. With over 40 bosses and even a local couch co-op, Fury Unleashed comes to Steam, PlayStation 4, the Xbox One and the Nintendo Switch. Next up, and in the runners-up position for games out this week, Spirit of the North, while out last year on the PlayStation 4, comes out on May 7th to the PC via Steam, and also onto the Nintendo Switch by way of the eStore. To our eye, this one seems to have gone generally under most people's radars, and we think that's a real shame as we found it such a wonderful and all-round captivating experience, and are more than happy to give this game some more airtime here on the channel. Spirit of the North sees you play as an ordinary red fox within a third-person adventure game that's inspired by the majestic landscapes you'll find on Iceland. The story also takes much of its lineage from the Nordic folklore, where you've become interwoven with the so-called Guardian of the Northern Lights as you journey across the tundra, glaciers, and mountainsides while solving environmental-based puzzles and platforming sequences. The puzzles are never overly complex, with this being the kind of game you can pick up and play in pieces, perhaps over the course of a couple of evenings. As for the soundtrack, well, to be honest, it's absolutely majestical and nicely tops off the overall package. As for our new platform of choice, we're most likely to take this one up on the Switch, and we're looking to have a full review up based on that platform as soon as we're able. And finally, our number 1 indie game out this week is Lonely Mountains Downhill, which slides and descends onto the Nintendo Switch on May the 7th. The keen-eyed of you will already know and be aware we've talked about this one a good few times here on the channel, although we're honestly excited and happy to see it coming to this new platform. Just to reiterate, while we don't play too many sports games, this is one of the best we've played in ages. Yes, it is brutally hard and we generally suck at it. It remains such a fabulous way of spending our time that we keep playing it again and again. Much of this is driven by wanting to, well, just get better at it, although it is such an overall calming experience if you just let it wash over you. It's brilliant just to spend time pottering around in. The lack of, say, the usual thrash or EDM soundtrack is also sublime. It's just the sound of the forests and the bike which works so very, very well, as does the low poly aesthetics and beautifully pared back colour scheme, with it using depth of field effects in places to really give it a certain wow factor. So yes, hands down our most wanted and most loved game out this week, and if you haven't played it, it's something we wholeheartedly recommend. And that's all for this week. Which game did you like best? Then leave us a comment, let us know what you think. And if you enjoyed this video, please click the like button. And if you haven't subscribed already, now's a great time to click the subscribe button, with also enabling all the notifications to not miss out on any of our indie game coverage. Either way, many thanks for watching, and we'll see you all again here soon for another video.